News came, and it hit hard. Charlie Kirk's voice is gone now, silenced in a moment no one saw coming. Some knew him as a fighter, some knew him as a foe, some knew him as a friend. But what matters tonight by this fire ain't the arguments, ain't the sides, ain't the noise. What matters is the lesson his life leaves behind. See, a man's wealth ain't just counted in dollars. A man's true wealth is counted in the convictions he held, the courage he carried, the work he was willing to endure. Buffett himself showed us that money can build freedom, but conviction builds legacy. Charlie Kirk was not an old man with silver hair and time enough to spend. He was young, bold, and loud, making his mark in a world that rewards quiet obedience. Right or wrong, agreed or disagreed, he chose to stand. And that choice alone speaks to the power of mindset. Buffett believed that patience was the richest coin a man could carry. Charlie, on the other hand, carried urgency. Where Buffett sat still and let compounding do its quiet miracle, Charlie stood up, took the stage, and let his words move like fire through dry grass. They were different men in different games, but both understood the same truth. Wealth is built when a man commits his life to something greater than comfort. Comfort may give you rest tonight, but conviction gives you a name tomorrow. There's a lesson here about the fire of youth and the wisdom of age. Buffett's story is patience stretched across decades, compounding slow as oak rings in the trunk. Charlie's story is swifter, like sparks that fly bright and vanish sudden, but leave marks burned deep in the wood. And both stories whisper the same warning. The measure of a man ain't in how long he breathes, but in what he builds while he breathes. Now don't mistake this for politics. Politics fades fast. What remains is discipline. Kirk built his platform from scratch, starting small, speaking to a handful of listeners, knocking on doors, organizing, building brick by brick until his voice carried further than he ever dreamed as a boy. That don't happen by accident. That don't happen by luck. That happens by grit. And grit is the same currency Buffett spent to turn dollars into billions. The arenas may be different, stocks or speeches, investments or influence, but the law is the same. The law says keep sowing, keep watering, trust the harvest, and don't quit when the storms roll in. And storms did roll in. Kirk faced ridicule, faced protest, faced anger sharp enough to cut. He kept showing up. That's the mark of a wealthy mindset. Not the absence of opposition, but the presence of endurance. Buffett too faced storms, markets crashing, partners doubting, deals failing. He kept his hand steady, eyes forward. Two men, two paths, one truth. The man who keeps walking in the storm is the man who builds legacy. Freedom is a word tossed around easy, but lived hard. Buffett sought freedom from financial chains. Kirk sought freedom of speech, of belief, of expression. They wrestled different enemies, but they fought the same battle against a system that pushes conformity, against a tide that tempts every man to stay silent, stay safe, stay small. And here by the fire we can admit this plain. A wealthy mind is never small. A wealthy mind dares. A wealthy mind risks. A wealthy mind knows comfort is a chain dressed in silk, and only courage can break it. Think of time again. Rain keeping steady, reminding us that each drop is a moment lost forever. Buffett stretched those moments into decades, letting compounding turn the small into mighty. Kirk lived as though every drop might be his last, pouring urgency into every word, every stage, every fight. And though the styles were different, the core was the same. Time is the partner, time is the enemy, time is the judge. And the man who knows time weight lives fuller than the man who ignores it. Now what left behind when a voice falls silent? With Buffett, it wealth, it businesses, it wisdom written in letters and lived in habits. With Kirk, it the spark of conviction left in the hearts of those who heard him. Legacy ain't the same for every man, but legacy is always the question. What will they say when your fire gone out? Will they say you stood or you sat? Will they say you lived free or you bowed to chains? Will they say you built wealth, not just of money, but of courage, conviction, and character? This rain, this fire, this night, it all reminds me that the test of life ain't the applause of the crowd. It ain't the comfort of today. It whether you can meet the storm and still rise tomorrow. Buffett did it slow, Charlie did it loud, but both showed the same law of freedom. Own yourself or be owned by the world. Serve comfort and you'll be a slave. Serve conviction and you'll die free, no matter when the end comes. So I say this plain, cowboy to cowboy, wanderer to wanderer, soul to soul. Don't waste your fire chasing comfort. Don't waste your rain drowning in envy. Don't waste your days living small. Live patient like Buffett. Live urgent like Kirk, but live free. Live owned by no one but your own convictions. Build your wealth in habits, in courage, in legacy. Let your fire, whether slow or swift, leave light enough for others to follow. The fire coals are dim now, and the rain's still falling. Another night will pass, another dawn will rise, but time don't wait. The men we talk about, Buffett, Kirk, all who dared to live bold, they remind us that wealth is not counted in years but in choices. Build your choices with freedom in mind, build your life with legacy in hand, and you'll have lived wealthy, no matter the size of your bank or the length of your days. The night stretches long and the rain shows no mercy. It pounds steady, heavy, relentless, the kind of rain that soaks through boots and bones alike. The fire near gone, just a bed of embers glowing faint red, fighting hard against the dark. And maybe that's the perfect picture of a man life bright for a while, then settling down to a quiet glow, then finally slipping into ash. But in those hours when the fire alive, the question remains. What kind of heat did it give? Did it warm others? Did it light the path? Or did it just crackle in vain? Charlie Kirk flame burned quick, bold, and public. Warren Buffett flame burned long, quiet, and steady. Two very different fires, but both teach the same lesson. The measure of a man ain't in the length of the burn, but in the quality of the light. The world don't remember the cold embers, it remembers the nights warmed by the fire, the faces lit by the glow, the courage that gathered round it. That's what legacy is. It's the warmth left behind long after the fire gone. Now Kirk wasn't a man without critics. He drew 'em like a lantern draws moths. Every speech, every stand, every word stirred storms. But here's the thing, the storm don't strike a man who hides. It don't strike the one sitting safe in silence. It strikes the one who steps into the open, who dares to speak, who dares to lead. Buffett too drew storms of doubt. Folks laughed when he stayed simple, mocked when he didn't chase the fancy investments, scorned when he refused to follow the crowd. But storms are the test of conviction. They prove whether a man's wealth is in his pocket or in his backbone. The wealthy mindset ain't measured in gold chains, or fat accounts, or loud applause. It measured in a man's ability to stay true when the storm hits. Charlie stayed true to what he believed, whether you agreed or not. Buffett stayed true to the discipline of patience, even when the whole market seemed to run mad. Both remind us that freedom ain't the absence of hardship, it's the mastery of self when hardship comes knocking. And maybe that's the greatest wealth a man can own, mastery of self. The world tempts you with noise, with comfort, with envy. It whispers, buy this and you'll be happy. Follow them and you'll be safe. Stay quiet and you'll be fine. But a wealthy mind don't bow to whispers. A wealthy mind don't trade freedom for approval. Buffett didn't, Kirk didn't. Different paths, same principle. Own yourself or the world will own you. Let's talk about legacy again. Some men chase years. They dream of living long, of seeing gray hairs and grandchildren. And there's nothing wrong with that dream. But what if the years ain't given? What if the fire burns out sudden like Kirk did? Then the only thing that matters is the story written in the days you did have. Legacy is proof that you lived for more than yourself. Buffett's legacy is measured in investments that outlive him, businesses that will keep growing long after he's gone. Kirk's legacy is measured in the voices he stirred, the minds he challenged, the debates he sparked. Different legacies, but both built from conviction. So ask yourself, what will your legacy be? If tomorrow the rain washed out your fire, what story would be told of your life? Would they say you lived bold or lived safe? Would they say you owned your time or sold it cheap? Would they say you built freedom or traded it away for comfort? These questions ain't for tomorrow, they're for tonight. Every day you wake, every dollar you spend, every choice you make, you're writing your legacy line by line. Buffett liked to say it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. That is true for money as it is for belief. Charlie Kirk built his name by standing firm in youth, facing opposition head on. Agree or disagree, his fire grew fast because he fed it with conviction. That what young men can learn from him. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for old age. Start now, speak now, build now. Time don't wait, neither should you. The danger though is envy. Envy, a thief that steals both freedom and legacy. Buffett warned about it, calling envy the silliest sin, 'cause it don't bring joy to the envious, only pain. Kirk faced envy too, from rivals, from critics, from those who wished to silence him not for what he said, but for how bright his fire burned. But envy ain't just other people's problem. It yours, it mine. It the poison that makes a man trade his steady path for another spotlight. Don't fall for it. Build your own fire, plant your own seeds, live your own legacy. The rain beats harder now, as if to hammer home the truth. Time is relentless. It don't care for your excuses. It don't wait for your comfort. It don't slow for your fears. Buffett partnered with time, turning every drop into growth. Kirk fought against time, squeezing his years with urgency. Both paths worked because both men respected time. Respect it yourself. Waste it and you waste the only currency you can't earn back. Invest it and you build wealth no thief can steal. And don't mistake wealth for numbers on a page. True wealth is freedom. Freedom to speak, freedom to act, freedom to live without chains. Freedom bought by discipline, patience, conviction. Buffett bought his freedom by saying no to glitter and yes to ownership. Kirk bought his freedom by refusing to be silent, no matter the cost. Both remind us of the same truth: the world don't hand you freedom. You carve it with your choices, you guard it with your courage, you pay for it with sacrifice. So as this fire turns to ash and the rain drums steady, take the lesson with you. Build slow like Buffett, build loud like Kirk, but build free. Don't sell yourself for comfort, don't waste yourself on envy, don't let fear chain you. Own your mind, own your days, own your legacy. That's the wealthy mindset. That's the Buffett way. And if tonight proves anything, this life may be short, but it can still burn bright enough to light the path for others long after you're gone. The fire almost out now, just a faint glow hiding under the wet wood. Most men would have walked away when the flames died, calling it done. But an old cowboy knows embers still got life if you tend them right. Give them breath, give them patience, and they'll rise again. That wealth, that freedom, that legacy right there, not in the big sparks that dazzle quick, but in the steady embers that endure when the storm rolls in. Discipline is the breath that keeps the embers alive. Buffett knew this better than anyone. He didn't need fireworks in his portfolio. He didn't chase the flash-in-the-pan stock or the overnight gamble. He kept steady, patient, pouring breath into the fire he already built. And in time, those embers roared into a blaze that's still burning decades later. Charlie Kirk's discipline was different. His fire wasn't patient. It was loud, fast, demanding attention. He knew the world wouldn't wait for him to turn gray before he spoke, so he spoke young, bold, unafraid. His fire grew fast because he poured every ounce of breath into it, refusing to wait for someone else to tell his story. Both men, Buffett with his patience, Kirk with his urgency, remind us that discipline don't always look the same, but it always costs the same. It costs comfort, it costs ease, it costs the false safety of silence. Now most men lose to distraction. Distraction, a thief dressed in fine clothes, whispering promises sweeter than honey. It tells you to scroll instead of study, to spend instead of save, to talk instead of listen. Distraction kills more fires than storms ever could. Storms test your strength, but distraction steals it before you even fight. Buffett kept his eyes on the long game, refusing distraction even when the whole market was chasing the next big thing. Kirk kept his focus on his mission, igniting debates when most men his age were too busy wasting time on comfort. That the wealthy mindset, focus so sharp, distraction don't stand a chance. But patience, patience is the partner of discipline. Without patience, discipline turns bitter. Without discipline, patience turns lazy. Together they make wealth inevitable. Buffett married patience and discipline into compounding, the quiet miracle that builds freedom in silence. Kirk lived urgency with discipline, reminding us that sometimes patience must bow to conviction, 'cause time ain't guaranteed. Both paths matter. The wise man learns to know which road to take, and hear the hardest truth: silence has a cost. The world will tempt you to stay quiet, to avoid the storm, to live easy. But silence, though comfortable, is expensive. It costs legacy, it costs impact, it costs the chance to matter. Buffett's silence wasn't about fear, it was about focus. He didn't speak loud, but his choices roared. Kirk's silence would have been surrender. So he broke it, speaking loud and paying the price. Both men prove there no neutral ground. You either live bold and leave a mark, or you live safe and vanish. Courage is the currency of freedom. You can't buy it with dollars. You can't trade for it in markets. You earn it by standing tall when the world tries to bend you. Buffett's courage was in refusing envy, refusing glitter, refusing the noise of the crowd. Kirk's courage was in speaking what he believed, risking mockery, hatred, and worse. And courage always pays dividends, if not in applause, then in freedom of the soul. The rain's steady now, softer, more like a lullaby than a hammer. It whispers of endings, and endings remind us of urgency. A man don't know how many nights he got left, how many fires he'll sit beside, how many mornings he'll see. Buffett built as if he had forever. Kirk lived as if tomorrow might not come. Both were right, because a wealthy mind builds for tomorrow, but lives for today. It plants trees that'll shade generations, but it don't waste the sunshine already given. So hear the lesson: build like Buffett, live like Kirk. Build slow, steady, compounding wealth in your habits, your choices, your money. But live bold, urgent, unafraid, speaking truth and standing firm. Don't wait for freedom to stumble onto your path. Carve it with patience and courage. Don't expect legacy to bloom without sacrifice. Water it daily with discipline and conviction. And never forget, storms will come, critics will howl, envy will bite, and time will slip through your hands like rainwater through dirt. But the wealthy mind don't bend, don't break, don't bow. It builds, it burns, it endures. And when the fire finally fades, it leaves warmth, light, and memory that outlive the man himself. So sit by your fire tonight. Listen to the rain. Let it remind you that time is flowing, unmerciful, unstoppable. You can waste it, or you can invest it. You can live chained, or you can live free. Buffett showed the patient way. Kirk showed the urgent way. Both show the wealthy way. Own yourself, own your time, own your legacy. And when the fire burns low and the rain keeps falling, you'll know in your bones you lived free. The fire gone now, just smoke rising, twisting slow into the night. All that left are the ashes, black and gray, scattered thin by the rain, and that life ain't it. Every man fire fades sooner or later. Some burn quick and bright, some long and steady, but in the end, they all settle into ash. The question ain't whether you'll turn to dust, it's whether the heat you gave off meant something. Whether your fire left the night a little warmer, a little brighter, a little braver for those who walked beside you. That's where the true measure of wealth lies. Not in the numbers in your bank, not in the acres you own, not in the trophies stacked on shelves. True wealth is the story told when the fire gone. Buffett's story is one of patience, discipline, and a partnership with time itself. Kirk's story is one of urgency, courage, and conviction too loud to be ignored. Different fires, same truth. You don't get remembered for what you had, you get remembered for what you gave. Now listen close, cause this here the lesson men forget most. Wealth without purpose is just weight. It drags you down, keeps you chained, makes you a slave with gold shackles instead of iron ones. Buffett knew this. That's why he pledged most of his riches to causes bigger than himself. He didn't let his fortune rot in vaults, he set it loose to outlive him. Kirk knew it too. His purpose wasn't gold, it was voice, standing firm on what he believed, speaking fire into the halls where others stayed quiet. Both men proved that wealth, whatever form it takes, is only as valuable as the purpose you tie it to. And purpose, well, purpose is a stubborn thing. It don't come easy, don't arrive with fanfare. It shows up like a whisper, like the rain tapping on a roof. Most folks ignore it, drown it out with noise, bury it under comfort, but a wealthy mind listens. A wealthy mind hears that whisper and shapes life around it. That's what separates the free from the chained. The free bend the world to their purpose, the chained bend themselves to the world. Hear the rub, freedom ain't the absence of hardship, it's the strength to choose your hardship. Buffett chose the hardship of patience, saying no when the world screamed yes, holding back when greed pushed forward. Kirk chose the hardship of courage, speak loud when silence was safer, step out when staying back was easier. Both knew you can't dodge hardship, you just choose whether yours builds chains or builds legacy. And that brings us to mortality. Men fear death, but death the one debt we all gotta pay. The wealthy mind don't run from it, don't hide from it, it uses it. Every tick of the clock, every drop of rain, every sunset and sunrise is a reminder. Time is slipping, fire is burning, and the end is closer than you think. Some folks waste that truth, living like they'll never die, spending years like cheap coins. But the wise man, he keeps mortality close, not as a burden, but as a compass that says build what outlives you, speak what matters. Live so when the fire dies, the warmth remains. Think on this: a man can spend his whole life stacking wealth, polishing his name, building comfort, then die forgotten. Another man can live half as long, with half the treasure, but leave behind a legacy of courage and conviction that echoes long after he gone. Which life is wealthier? The Buffett mindset says it clear. True wealth ain't measured in years lived or riches held, but in freedom earned and legacy left. And legacy, it don't belong to kings alone. It belongs to every man who dares to live with intention. A father who teaches his children discipline leaves a legacy. A worker who saves and invests steady leaves a legacy. A young man who speaks his truth with courage leaves a legacy. You ain't too small, too poor, too quiet to leave one. Legacy is built in daily choices, stacked one on another like logs on a fire. Keep stacking, keep tending, and soon enough the blaze will light more than your own night. The rain eased now, softer, like the earth itself is breathing deep after the storm. The smoke clearing, the night sky opening just enough to show a handful of stars. And maybe that's the final lesson: storms end, fires fade, but the light that lingers is what guides the next traveler. Buffett light is discipline, patience, mastery of time. Kirk light is urgency, courage, mastery of voice. Both lights shine, different hues, but together they remind us of the same truth. The wealthy mind don't die when the man does. It lives on, in stories, in habits, in courage passed down. So take this night with you. Let the rain remind you of time's relentless march. Let the ashes remind you that every fire ends. Let the stars remind you that light outlives the flame. Build slow, build bold, but build free. Own yourself, own your days, own your legacy. And when your fire fades, let it leave behind not just smoke, but warmth enough for others to say, "This man lived free." That's the Buffett mindset. That's the truth worth holding close. And if you listen, deep down under the rain and the silence, you'll hear it plain. Freedom ain't handed out. It carved, it guarded, it lived. Live free, die free. Leave a fire worth remembering. Rain eased to a whisper, fire turned cold, and all that left is the smell of smoke hanging in the damp air. A man could sit here forever, staring at nothing, thinking on everything, and maybe that's the way it should be. Nights like this, they remind you of what matters. They remind you that every fire dies, every man falls, every voice grows silent, but the echo, that what lasts. The echo of how you lived, what you stood for, what you built when time was still yours. Buffett echo is patience and discipline, compounding into freedom. Kirk echo is urgency and conviction, speaking bold even when it cost him. Different paths, same trail. A wealthy mind don't serve fear, it don't serve envy, it don't serve comfort, it serves freedom. So hear the charge plain and simple. Own your days, 'cause they ain't promised. Own your choices, 'cause they carve your chains or your wings. Own your legacy, 'cause it's the only wealth death can't steal. When your fire fades, and it will, you'll want more than ashes. You'll want warmth that lingers, light that guides, and a story worth telling. That's the Buffett mindset. That's the way of a free man. So ride steady, plant deep, speak true, live free. And when the rain comes for you, let it find you unafraid, your fire burning bright against the dark.